And welcome to I Protest. It's Don Jeffries talking to you from just outside the Swamp and Fest in Washington, D.C., as I do every Friday at this time. Glad to have you here. I'm only going to be here for the first hour because I'm going to be part of the John Barber's big JFK assassination anniversary bash. He's having a broadcast over there, so I got to be there at 7. So I'm going to have Chris Graves is going to come on the second hour, Jason Barker. So AJ Rice is going to be our guest for the first hour. AJ is the president and CEO of Publius PR. He's the editor in chief of the Publius National Post and author of the new number one political humor bestseller, The White Privilege Album, bringing racial harmony to very fine people on both sides. And that's what we're going to be talking about mostly, I think, is his book. We'll also be talking about his clients. So, AJ, thanks for coming on the show.
Don, brother, great to be here finally. I mean, I've known you for years. This is my first time on.
Well, that's great. I mean, I get these. I get these emails from you, from Publius, and a lot of big names. I know. I think you have Judge Janine. Is she one of your clients?
Absolutely,
Because I
definitely. We've done
almost
all
had
four.
her. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
We
ahead.
have four of her. We've done four of her books. Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So how did you get started with these big wigs? You're dealing with small fry today. How did you get how did you get started with these big political figures?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to the very fine people in this audience. I know they're out there, and the book is dedicated to the very fine people. And we're here to bring racial harmony to them. How
Hmm.
did I get started? Well, how did I get started? Well, let's see. I'm the former executive producer of the Laura Ingraham Show. And like
Oh.
you, I'm broadcasting from a different fortress in the shadow of the swamp. But I'm not far from the swamp myself. You know, I'm down here in the sewers, right? So I'm the
Yeah.
subterranean homesick alien down here in the sewers, which
There
is
you go.
actually cleaner. It's actually cleaner than K Street. It's actually cleaner than the swamp itself. So,
Hmm.
I mean, someone's got to turn Virginia back red. So Don and I are going to try. Um, Look, I was working on Capitol Hill, and Ingram hired me basically 20 years ago to be her assistant. And within almost a year, I ended up her associate producer, then her executive producer. So I used to produce shows, worked on the Hill and produced shows. Ingram, Monica Crowley. I did a show for
Oh, no
John
shit.
Solomon at the Washington Times. I helped out Glenn Beck's The Blaze radio network launch, and some of my clients were like Buck Sexton and Chris Salcedo. And that I did that for about a decade. And for the last decade or so, I sort of took my production hat off and became more of a media PR consultant. So, I mean, it helps when Laura Ingraham and Monica Crowley, who are kind of like my sisters, they're kind of like my big sisters, and they're tough. They're tough cookies. One worked for Reagan, one worked for Nixon. They straighten me out when I get out of line. I was actually on with Ingram on Fox last night. I mean, it's good to have mentors like that. They've been through quite a bit. Some other people along the way took me under their wing. Andrew Breitbart is one of those people. So I sort of matriculated in the media with, some counterculture conservative people. Um, but I will tell you the huge sort of earth shattering uh, event as far as my PR, because I run Publius PR. That's my day job. And I've written two books here recently and sort of stepped out from behind the emerald curtain. Um, when the OG from the Golden Escalator showed up and gave 18 Republicans running for president a haircut, and he just mowed them down,
Mm.
just mowed them down one at a time, right? The only way Queens can do it, believe me. I'm from Philadelphia. I mow them down the same way, right? You get cement shoes. That's what you get.
Mm.
So he took them out one at a time. Um, and Don, you know this because you're in the area. So when he showed up, a lot of the PR firms, some of which go back to the Ford years or the Reagan years, they thought that this was a momentary event, that he would be gone soon. And because of that, whether they were, Bush bots, right? They had a red W stamped in their
Mhm.
forehead. or whether they were, from Mitt Romney, and with the magical underwear crowd, or whether they were, the heroes that were captured, or the heroes that weren't captured, they were part of that crowd. They all threw in with the swamp, with the establishment, with the sort of uniparty here, because they thought, Trump's going to go away, right? This is before he started scalping people in the 16 primary. And they threw in with and that's where the sort of the never Trumpers come along. And a lot of the PR firms in Washington, D.C. threw in with these people. They were part of that crowd that signed that, National Review, Never Trump, Against Trump, cover story. So that provided an opportunity. So the OG comes down the golden escalator, and I'm there from the beginning. And because of that, Judge Jeanine was sort of the first linchpin. We made her first book there, New York Times bestseller. So from there, I acquired Donald Trump Jr.'s books. And obviously, then it spreads like fire, right? And, we've had dozens of New York Times bestsellers since. I work with most conservative imprints, Don, including yours. Okay? They didn't give me you.
You mean Skyhorse, you mean?
Correct.
Yes,
I do most of Skyhorse's books. For whatever reason, and I'll have to ask Tony about this, for whatever reason, Don, they gave you the B team. Okay? They didn't give you the GOAT. I'm the GOAT, brother. I'm the GOAT.
Well, I can tell.
You need to go. You need to go.
Do you know Stacy, my publicist, so I can never pronounce her last name?
I do know Stacy. So
yeah.
I don't mean to dunk on Stacy. Stacy's solid, and I helped Stacy out when Stacy, was between jobs. Yeah. In fact, I introduced Stacy to Skyhorse. So hopefully Stacy's doing a solid job.
She is. Because before that they tended to give me these college kids. And right. they would like Rodney Nason. I wasn't getting any respect, so yeah, I feel
that's right, Rodney.
Very grateful for her. So next to getting maybe they'll
maybe I can get you in there. I'm not trying to throw shade at Stacy. But they've got a lot of books, they've got a lot of imprints. Some of the imprints they acquired recently, I was with. It's funny because I was working for Skyhorse, and then Tony goes and buys Regnery and All Seasons Press. Well, guess who the publicist for those places? So I just sort of right. So when it comes to right of center, the publishing world, I'm Kevin Bacon. And not just because Kevin and I are from Philadelphia, but, there's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it's only 1 or 2 degrees of A.J. Rice. So it's just, I come with you purchase the building and you find me in the basement.
That's good. Well, it's good. And if you have Laura Ingram's ear, maybe you can ask that. I almost made my Fox TV debut about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, where out of the clear blue sky, they asked me to be on there. I think it was 4th of July and they wanted me to discuss Donald Trump's speech at Mount Rushmore or something. I said, I don't know how they heard about me. So they must have looked again at my book title or something. Like after I told the entire world, like 2 hours later, they canceled, and I have not heard from them since. So, but this was another young guy that was the producer that I had heard from, not you,
well,
obviously.
Yeah, part of the problem of right of center media, whether it's corporate or not corporate, is that the people making the bookers and the people making decisions on some of these shows, they're fresh out of the wrapper, right? They're puppies. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to totally dunk on them because, I was given a shot as a puppy, right? I'm now 20 years into this, right? So when I'm 24, right, that's 20 years ago. So, people look, and I will tell you, it's a good place for talented people. I never worked in TV. I worked in radio, right? I was Laura's radio host. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Some of the TV, a radio producer, sorry. But, some of the TV kids, though, they're looking at how many, followers you have on Twitter, and that's it, right? That's so that can be problematic. That can be problematic. But look, the media is changing. That's why shows like this do well, right? And I'm sure Stacy's putting you on all kinds of shows on Rumble and this and that. That's what you have to do. It's a whole new world out there, Don.
Yeah, I was on Kim Iverson again yesterday. She's wonderful. She has a huge audience, so I love being on her show.
I know Kim.
Yeah, no, she's great. But is there any truth to the rumor? I've been hearing this rumor that that Elon Musk is going to buy MSNBC? Can that possibly be true?
I mean, every other day Elon's going to buy something, right? I
Yeah,
mean, Elon's just sort of crashing on Trump's couch right now in Mar-a-Lago. So,
that's what I
and every
heard. He
time
can't get rid of him. Yeah,
every time he wakes up, there's another billion in pocket change falling out. I mean, it's something's happening there at Mar-a-Lago.
yeah. There's a guest that wouldn't leave. Yeah, he seems like he's
Right.
yeah. So what? So let's talk about the white. Let me hold a copy of it here. Just hold this up. People see that the White Privilege album.
Indeed.
Right. AJ
Want to
Rice.
apologize to the Don. We got to apologize to the Beatles for that title.
Well, I
Not
figured it was a play on that. Yeah. So,
we're not
well, there's no,
apologizing to Yoko. We're not apologizing to Yoko
no,
Ono, though, Don. No,
there's no hidden meaning there tying to the Manson murders, is there? And you're not doing any helter skelter stuff in that book, right?
I'm not. But although the title is what it is, I actually modeled the cover on Pink Floyd's The Wall. So if you're familiar with the Wall album,
Sure, of course, yeah.
Little spray paint on the subway tiles.
Right.
And look, and Don, you didn't have me on for this, but my first book, The Woking Dead, this was based on Thriller. This was based on Thriller. So look, I'm a marketing guy. I like to have fun with this stuff. I'm not on here to do an Aristotelian, make Aristotelian arguments. I'm here to have some fun. Bring a little humor.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what we're here for.
Exactly. Well, and I apologize for mispronouncing. I called it Publius. I didn't know. So that's what I know. So I want to get the name of your
all good, brother.
Company right. Okay. So I mean, certainly, I would love to offer my white privilege to any person of color that wants it, because I really don't. It's done me any good. But where did you decide to write this book? And I was reading through it. You have fun with it. I didn't know. I've always talked about all the things that are racist now, from birds and sleep and Band-Aids and brown paper bags.
Right,
I did not know. Yeah, I didn't know diabetes was, and I didn't know Alzheimer's was. So yeah. So talk about what inspired this book, and you obviously had fun with it, but I guess you were making a serious point in there. Well, I think.
Yeah. Well, look, I come from the Rush Limbaugh school of using irreverent humor to illustrate truth. Right?
Sure.
Using absurdity to illustrate truth. And look, that's what comedy's supposed to be. And obviously the left doesn't know that, because they got a bunch of stiffs on at night, the Jimmys and the Stevens and the other schmucks. They don't know how to tell a joke anymore. But, that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, this is why Gutfeld's crushing them. But look, the White Privilege album is a sequel to The Woking Dead. It's volume 2. The Woking Dead was volume 1. And with The Woking Dead, I did more of a sort of, unified theory of wokeism, where I brought in a lot of things and tried to eat from the buffet. Whereas with the White Privilege album, I'm sort of zeroing in mainly on the race hustler racial component of who pushes this stuff. So, like, what are they talking about? When I say they, I mean woke. And when I say woke, I mean the politically correct crowd. And when I say the politically correct crowd, I'm really talking about the pre-Margaret Sanger, pre-World War I cultural Marxists that were given birth by Antonio Gramsci, and they've come all the way forward 100 years, doing the long march through the institutions, and they're in everything, but they started out on Broadway and in, the silent picture industry and the public sector unions, and you fast forward to today, that's who we're fighting. That's who Don's fighting. That's who Publius's clients are fighting, and that's who's screaming white privilege. At the macro level, Don, when you hear this, and look, I'm kidnapping the language back from them. I'm abducting it, I'm weaponizing it, I'm using it back against them.
Culturally appropriately, what do you want?
Yeah. And, I love that too. Look, they don't like Western civilization. And when I say Western civilization, from Moscow to San Diego, I'm talking about Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian civilization. They don't like it. They've never liked it. Marx didn't like it. Gramsci didn't like it. They don't like it. MSNBC doesn't like it. They want it to go away. Not all civilizations are created equal. I know that's not always popular to say, but this is why some civilizations go away. This is why some civilizations are conquered by other civilizations. And to quote Uncle Pat Buchanan, who told us 35 years ago, not all cultures are created equal either. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, not every culture has a Mozart or a Shakespeare or a Don Jeffries. They don't have them, and we have one, and we need to protect it. It's the most successful civilization in Earth's history, which is why, Don, especially after the very fine people got mad about Charlottesville, and then the greatest African American in human history died, George Floyd,
Right.
the patron saint of fentanyl. When he died, they went after Confederate war statues.
Right.
Now, I live in Virginia now, but I'm a Union guy. I'm sure the audience can tell. I'm from Philadelphia.
Right.
I would probably be wearing a blue uniform if the war started tomorrow. Although my wife from North Carolina, I don't know what uniform she'd be wearing. But I will tell you, they were never going to stop with Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and Beauregard and Pickett.
Absolutely.
And they were never going to
Absolutely.
stop there. So as soon as they were gone, they would go after the Union generals. So Sherman and Grant, Sheridan, they all got to go. They're all going to go, and we're not going to stop there. And if you go back to the very fine people speech that Trump gives, that the left had an embolism,
Yes.
and you actually read it, he's saying, look, once Lee's gone, now you're going to go after George Washington, you're going to go after Thomas Jefferson, and on and on and on. So that's the prairie fire that started there, and they used George Floyd as the sort of impetus for that. And they went after Columbus and Churchill, and they took a statue of Don Jeffries down. I mean, this is what they do, right?
I didn't even tell me I had one. Yeah.
You know why? Because postmodernism combined with racial grievance, they're going to try to gobble up as much as they can, which is why all the Marine Corps bases and the Fort Bragg and all these places had to be renamed. And every elementary school now in the United States is called Michelle Obama Elementary.
Yeah.
This is what they did, and it was to reset you. It was to reset you. So at the macro level, white privilege is about Western civ. If you take a step down from there, Don, it's about the middle class. The left has always hated the middle class. They can pretend that they're from it all day long, but they need to crush the middle class, because the only places, and Don knows this audience knows this, the only places, Marxist revolutions have thrived are places without a middle class, where you've got a peasant revolt, right? So they're trying to make us peasants so that they can feed us, as the elites, a turkey in every pot, an abortion in every pot. That's what they want to, that's the goal. That's the goal for us, is that, so that it's them at the top. Because look, if you look at every time one of these revolutions has happened, whether it's the Castro variety or the Ho Chi Minh variety or the Mao, every variety, right? It's always some, colonial power or autocratic regime that gets overthrown by, the guerrillas and the peasants that come down out of the mountains or whatever it is. So that's what they want for us. So they take, Antonio Gramsci is one of these guys that knew that, look, you're not going to get, and he's this Italian Marxist guy that, that was a philosopher 100 years ago or so. He says, you're never going to get an economic revolution in a place where there's a strong middle class. You're not going to get the bricklayers and the plumbers and the longshoremen to burn the White House down, right? You can read Upton Sinclair all day long. It's not going to happen. So you got to get them another way. You got to capture society another way. And he believed that the way to do that was through the hegemony of culture, right? So you infect things and you do the long march, and that's who we're fighting. So, and that brings me to the final thing. When they're talking about white privilege, they're talking about the nuclear family. They don't like it.
Yes. No.
They've been trying to replace the father with government for a long time. Black Lives Matter put on their website that the nuclear family was a construct of white supremacy, right? And it was right next to their love letter to Hamas. So they got the love letter to Hamas, and they got this. And look, the left doesn't. I mean, they got a lot of reasons why they don't like the nuclear family, Don. Right? It's not just because we're breeders. They don't like breeders.
No, they don't.
Because every time we breed, it means that John Kerry and Leonardo DiCaprio have to buy more carbon credits to offset our children and our grandchildren. Right?
That's right.
Right? But they know that here's the thing, and I believe this truly, Don. I believe happy people have more children, which is why trickle-down wokeism is trickle-down misery. They have to make us miserable, Don. They have to make us miserable so that we're childless. We have no spouses. We don't get married, right? We're alone.
Right.
We're in our house. We're listening to Taylor Swift. We're paging JD Vance. We bring some cats in from Ohio, right? The cats that
Yes.
escape the menu. The cats, right? The cats off the
Yeah.
menu. And that's what we're going to be. We're going to be miserable, childless, alone. We'll listen to Taylor Swift, and we'll be screaming about white privilege and the patriarchy, and then we'll be their customers.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to tell the people in the chat. I don't know why this isn't live on Rockman. Billy Ray, if you're out there listening, I'm having a remote producer today, so he may not have been able to hook that up. So I apologize those of you who usually listen on Rockfin. But we got people on YouTube. Hopefully, we got people on my Twitter as usual. They're not commenting for some reason, but I know people are watching there. So AJ, what do you think? We're talking about white privilege, and what I think one of the most we can talk about Trump's picks so far and so forth. But one thing that stands out about them is that they look pretty 1950s like. There's a shocking lack of diversity in his picks so far. I'm surprised more haven't been made of that. Is there a single non-white in the bunch? I don't think there has been.
Well, with Trump, he's not going to whip out the sushi menu and go down the Benetton ad of the magical color kingdom. He's not doing the Crayola 60. He's not doing the Crayola 64 box. He never did.
Definitely not.
He's not. I mean, look, Ben Carson served in the first term. He may end up somewhere soon.
Yeah,
I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is Samoan, but I'm not going to bet. I'm not going to bend over backwards and extrapolate based on the 31 flavors of wokeism here from Baskin and Robbins, right? I mean, we're not doing that. So let me tell you what he is doing, because half of these people are Publius PR's clients.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about which clients are in there.
Yeah, I'll get into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So if Abraham Lincoln was the great emancipator and Reagan was the great communicator, Trump is and will be therefore the great disruptor. He's a disruptor. He's been a disruptor since the Golden Escalator ride, and he's picking people based on merit, qualifications, but also people that are disruptors, because you can't just pick the heads of these different cabinet positions or departments and leave it at that. Yes, the fish rots from the head, but you need to go 10 levels down at all these departments, whether it's DOJ or labor, whatever the hell it is. You need a bunker buster. Okay, you need to drop a Moab on these things. You need to go down, okay, below ground.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump loves a spectacle. He loves it. The reality TV guy. He's a blue collar billionaire. He loves a spectacle. So he's not only picking competent people, in some cases, like with Tulsi and others, people that they're going to lead the department that they were maybe being tracked by or being investigated by, right? Or that they're most afraid of. So yes, so that's what he's doing. He's going to insert disruptors into these cabinet positions in these agencies. And in addition to that, I will say this: Trump, ever the spectacle creator, he's also, you said 1950s or the little Norman Rockwell situation going on, but more than that, Trump is casting a movie here. He's casting a movie. So whether it's Michael Waltz or Vivek, look, Vivek's not exactly an
That's
Irish
right. I forgot about Vivek. Okay, that's true.
Right. So he's picking people to be the cast of his film. Right. This is good. This is the movie that America voted for the next 4 years. This is what you're getting. You get a Kennedy, you get a Trump, you get Vivek, you get come on. So this is the MAGA Avengers team. And we like to think here, I'm the humble servant of the people, but we like to think here that Publius PR is at the center of the MAGA cinematic universe. So Pete Hegseth, we worked on his books. He's a friend.
I thought he would be one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we go back. It's long before he was ever on Fox. He was running Concerned Veterans for America, I believe. Tulsi Gabbard is our client. We worked on her book
Oh,
last summer.
cool.
RFK Jr. is a client.
Hmm.
We not only worked on his books, but we do media for his super PAC, AV24. Donald Trump Sr. and Donald Trump Jr. own a publishing house that was run by Don Jr. and by Sergio Gore, who has been tapped now to be the director of the presidential personnel office in the White House. They have a publishing house called Winning Team Publishing. So they put out these coffee table books. I'm sure your audience has seen, right? Save America. He's put I think 3 of them out. But they also put out, conservative books. They do a couple a year, but that includes MTG, Carrie Lake, Judge Jeanine Pirro, Peter Navarro, and many others. So Charlie Kirk, we work with them. So we know Sergio. And what's funny in all of this, a couple of years ago, I did a children's book called Dawn of the Brave. So as much as Congressman Michael Waltz, who I think outranks both Hegseth and Tulsi, because he's a full colonel, and I think Tulsi's a lieutenant colonel and Hegseth's a major, I believe. We did a children's book by Congressman Michael Waltz, who's going to be the National Security Advisor, called Dawn of the Brave. And he's got kids. I think he's got a kid he's got some little kids. But he's a badass. He's a Green Beret, full colonel. So, we've got him as well. And look, of all of these people, the funny thing is, the only actual campaign that we worked on was Vivek's campaign. All of 2023 almost, we worked for Vivek, putting his surrogates out into the media. So look, this is, for us, it's a dream team. We love it. I never would have imagined when I started doing PR years ago that, clients of mine would end up in these types of positions. I mean, I'm not going to have any clients left here by January 1st. Because I think, there's going to be more. I think there's more people coming. I mean, I don't know. RFK Jr. Alone is going to probably nominate and bring in half of Skyhorse's.
Well, I was going to say, I know Tony Lyons and my old publicist Hector over there at Skyhorse. They seem like they were really involved in his campaign. Obviously, I'm most thrilled by the RFK Jr. appointment, but I like the Matt Gaetz choice a lot too. I don't like what happened there. I have concerns about RFK Jr. What do you see? I mean, what happened to the recess appointments? I thought he was going to use that to get these guys through. Is he still? Well, he's going to have to use that for Kennedy, I think.
He can't do that until, well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, John Thune's going to. John Thune is replacing Foghorn Leghorn, Mitch McConnell, right? Yeah. And look, Thune's going to have to decide whether he wants to come out, and Thune's a stiff, and that's fine. We'll see if he wants to go to war with a president who just basically made him Senate Majority Leader. Does he want to do that? Mm-hmm. Republican coattails, we control everything. So are they going to act like Paul Ryan and Foghorn Leghorn? Or are they going to give Trump, who just won the popular vote, who has a mandate here to govern? And look, RFK Jr. was a solid presidential candidate. He was on balance. He is the oldest male Kennedy heir. And, whether the goofballs in his family, whether they like that or not,
no, I don't think they do.
I mean, look, let me rewind the tape for you a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump, knocked out Joe Biden in that debate. And they came in. Turns out, by the way, George Clooney's not the political mastermind we all thought he was. So Clooney writes this piece, Obama gets involved, and they do a little 3-card money on the American people, and they replace Biden with, the desk jockey, Kamala. But imagine a world, Don, if you would, in the multiverse, imagine a world where Biden agrees to a primary debate months earlier with RFK Jr. If the Democrats would have allowed that, Biden would have been knocked out even earlier. And then what do? RFK Jr. is getting on ballots as a Democrat. And they were blocking that. So he became an independent, and then but if you it's a series of events there. But are you going to tell me the RFK Jr. wouldn't have knocked Biden out the way Trump did? He would have. So look, I mean, and I'm not just being self-interested here. I'm the only publicist in America that represented for all of 2023 Trump, Vivek, and RFK Jr. I didn't talk about it at the time. I talk about it now so I can spike the football in the faces of the women on The View. Okay? So, but understand this. Biden might have been gone sooner. RFK might have been the nominee. We don't know. So Thune and the stiffs that think that they're going to block him, and the swamp and the uniparty, right, and the deep state, they're going to try to block him, the pharmaceutical companies and whoever the hell else. They better think long and hard about what they're doing here. Because I know, look, some conservatives are going to have problems with some of RFK Jr.'s, positions on, I guess, abortion and the environment. But
right.
He's going over there, not to really get into that. He's going over there to clean up this freaking mess that was COVID-19, right?
Yep.
So look, let the Democrats be the purity test people. Conservatives, we just won this multi-ethnic working class victory where, Trump got Elon to flip parties, RFK Jr. to flip and endorse him, Tulsi Gabbard. We're gonna take advice from John freaking Thune? I don't think so. I mean, they owe RFK Jr. I hate to say it, they owe him, and Trump knows that.
Well, I think the reason Trump won by the margin he did, I think it's almost exclusively because of RFK Jr.'s support. He had about 10% support. I think that's what was responsible for the margin of victory.
Sure. I mean, if you look at some of these swing states, and RFK Jr. didn't come alone. He came with all kinds of Hollywood people and all these different people that that's part of the reason guys like Joe Rogan, who's friends with Elon too, that they were willing to throw in. So we have this, look, the Republican Party was losing. They were losing with the heroes that were captured. They were losing with the heroes that weren't captured. They were losing with Mitt Romney and his magical underwear. They were losing. The Republican Party had to get out of the Chamber of Commerce, take off the bow ties, take off the Argyle sweaters, and do something different. So who do you want to roll with? You want to roll with Liz Cheney, or do you want to roll with Tulsi Gabbard? Right?
Yeah.
Who do you want? You want to roll with Google, or do you want to roll with Elon? The party needed to be reset. The Democrats were looking for a great reset. Well, you just got one. On globalism, on wokeism, Trump just reset the board. You're welcome.
Well, I'm just you're obviously a real insider. What do you think? Have you met Trump? Do you know Trump personally? You seem like you know everybody else.
Sure. I mean, remember, I was a producer too. So Trump was a media figure. I mean, Laura and Monica, these people, I was setting up interviews with Trump. I used to have to deal with Michael Cohen, actually, long before he came he came down the escalator. So, look, I've interacted with presidents either on the phone or in person. The one I've actually met the most is Joe Biden because Joe Biden used to go up and down on Amtrak. And look, I was Ingram's producer, and I would be in Biden used to hang out in the green rooms of America. Biden was a backbencher. He was goofed on by his colleagues. Barack Obama pulled him off a trash heap. So he used to just hang out in whoever would talk to him. And he was actually, once upon a time, one of the only Democrat senators that would go on Fox News. So I would be sitting there with Ingram, and Biden would be like, Ingram, God love you, Ingram. God love you. Kid, look, if I was a right-wing maniac, I would be with you, Ingram. That's who he used to be. He was like an Irish Catholic, schmucky, malarkey, Uncle Cracker type of guy. that guy is still in there. He comes out from time to time. But the guy I see now, for the most part, I mean, he's 80 years old, is mostly gone. I mean, it's more than just
Yeah.
he's lost more than just some MPH off his fastball. I mean, he's
Yeah.
shot. He's got extension cords plugged into him, and he's kind of like a meat puppet at this point.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think that people are talking about it. People are asking in the chat room if you ever attended any famous Washington parties, sex parties.
Right? No,
Did you have any
no.
fun there, AJ, or no?
No, you know what? Some people go into PR. Some people go into PR for the parties. I go into PR to get things done. Right? I mean, even when I was single, I didn't go to the parties, and I still don't go to the parties because I'm not there for that. And I've got a team of killers. We are there to provide content to shows like this. Um, and there are people that get caught up in that, but no parties for me. I mean, I'm Irish Catholic, so give me a bottle of Jameson, I can party by myself.
Well, one of the most I think I don't know if he was being facetious, but Donald Trump Jr., who I like a lot better than his dad most of the time. I don't know why he doesn't appoint him. Why does he listen to Kushner instead of he should have Donald Trump Jr. there as his main advisor? He should be his RFK like JFK had. But Donald Trump
Well, I
Jr.
mean,
suggested.
you can't make family members cabinet people, so you have to be some sort of invented
Yeah, it would have to be
position.
like well, like whatever Kushner is. I mean, like an unofficial advisor or something. But
Well, Kushner's
I,
not that anymore. Here's what I'll tell you: all three of the sons have played a role in this victory. Eric and Don have to run the companies, and that's what happened last time. Barron's going to go to college. I will tell you this: that because the media has been reset, there were some undecided voters out there in the last month of this election, and they weren't at the Wall Street Journal editorial page. They weren't at the Chamber of Commerce. They weren't reading the New York Times. And Barron, in particular, with the help of his older brothers too, and J.D. Vance knows this because J.D. Vance is a millennial like me, the first millennial vice president. So, you've got a boomer and a millennial in there. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's good. And I will tell you, Barron pushed for Trump to go into these podcasts because lurking inside Rogan and Schultz and Theo Vaughn and some of these other places, the Nelk boys and Nelk brothers, whatever they're called, were some undecided voters. They were there. They were hiding there, which is just amazing that Kamala Harris was given, 3 hours of free advertisements to go sit there with Rogan, and she declined. So, just like Hillary declined to go to Wisconsin, even though Bill told her to. So these are the fatal mistakes that, during the postmortem, the Democrats are going to have to, cope with. I mean, look, when you spend your entire campaign on Hitler and abortion, Hitler, abortion,
Yeah.
abortion. I mean, that's not really going to move the needle for a lot of people, especially independent people.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do we? I was shocked to see how tall Barron was at the. He towers over
Gigantic.
Trump.
He's
Trump is like
gigantic.
6'3". Is he close to 7 feet tall? I mean, how he
I
must
mean,
be.
yeah, I mean, and Eric was the tallest son until Barron. Eric's taller than Don Sr. Um,
Yeah.
Barron is like, he looks like, Luka Doncic. Like we need
Yeah, I was going
get
to say
this.
people are saying he should play basketball. That's what he should go to
Yeah,
college for.
Barron should be starting at I guess he's going to go to NYU. It needs to be Barron and the brothers. I mean, Barron and the brothers could
Yeah.
win some games at
Yeah.
NYU. I don't know how his jump shot is, but I mean, man, he looks like Nikola Jokic. I mean, he looks like
Yeah, he does.
maybe he could go play where was Melania's I think a joint citizen of Slovenia, and I think that's where Luka's from. He's from one of them. I mean, he could go play on the national team overseas.
Well,
Let alone here.
imagine how the meltdown if a Trump went into the NBA and started dominating.
Oh my God!
That would
Oh
be
my gosh!
something.
The
Especially if
left would lose their minds.
they wouldn't be able to handle that. I know, but Yeah, so what do we, because I think the Matt Gaetz story has been very interesting. And again, there are rumors that he may be somehow they're going to give him a position behind the scenes where he wouldn't have to be approved for. I was very because I love Matt Gaetz's the stuff he's been saying, and I thought, well, this is the guy to drain the swamp. But have you heard anything? Is he going to be some kind
Well,
of
one
special
rumor, and
prosecutor?
now, I mean, well, I never worked with Gates really. I helped out a little bit on his book, but one rumor I heard was that he could possibly be nominated to replace Marco Rubio in the Senate in Florida.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
heard that too.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of sort of positions in the government where you don't have to be confirmed. So
Yeah.
there's certainly opportunity there. I mean, maybe he goes to Newsmax and does a show. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't. I'm not entirely sure, but it sounds like he's not going to run for reelection again in his congressional seat.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, and I thought DeSantis said he wasn't going to appoint him, but that's too bad because I thought that would be he's one of the better ones. What about my favorite congressman is person in Congress is Thomas Massey, hands down. Any chance he gets in there as anything?
Well, look, we got to be careful. I mean, we got to be careful pulling more Congress people
Yeah, yeah.
and or senators because we have a slim majority there. I mean, I
Hmm.
think Massey, just like Ron Paul before him, and maybe to a lesser
Yeah.
degree, Justin Amash. It's good to have a disruptor like that in the House. Massey is good. Massey was not exactly voting for everything Trump wanted in the first term.
No,
So
he
I don't,
wasn't. Yeah, yeah.
no, right. So no, I think Massey's probably great where he is. How about we replace Mitch McConnell with him? I mean, I wouldn't mind that,
Oh, yeah. Well,
right?
I do. Well, yeah, I would love to. What gets me is the reason why I'm an old lefty from way back. I was an ACLU member as a teenager, and
Sure.
I thought the Democrats were the good guys. So I eventually came to where I am now, where most people think I'm a white nationalist or something. I don't know what they think I am, but I'm basically a populist. But what I don't understand is why, if the Republicans are going to be a real opposition party, there has to be more to it than this Trump personality. You got to start seeing other figures. So I was very disappointed in the Thune pick because basically there were three choices, two of them kind of anti-Trumpers, and one Scott, I guess, that would have been the best of the three.
Sure.
Why do the Republicans continue to name people like Boner and Ryan and even McCarthy and McConnell, obviously? Why? Because there's never anybody there that's on board with anything Trump might want to do that's MAGA wise.
Right. John Boner, is that who you're referencing?
Yes,
The
yes, yes,
original,
yes,
he is the
yes.
original Orange Man, John Boner.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah, yes.
he took his cigarette smoking Boner somewhere else. But I will tell you, it has taken a decade for the deplorables teamed up now with RFK Jr.'s people, and might I say, Ron Paul's people
Yes.
as
Hmm.
well, because the Libertarian Party was actually for the first time ever offered a chance to put forth names for by the transition team for different posts. So
Hmm.
they've never been asked ever, not by Democrats, not by Republicans,
Hmm.
and that's a huge deal because I represent the Mises Institute. So that's, I represent the National Motorist Association. These are big time libertarian sort of Ron Paul type groups. And they're very excited because they're going to have a voice. And no one's ever given them a voice. They go off with their little 3%, and they go to the Cato dinner and that's the end of it. It's just like it's just ridiculous. But it's taken a decade to I mean, I don't want to use the word purge, but to make the Republican Party, and the Senate's the last frontier, but the
Hmm.
House, Johnson, you might not like what Johnson looks like or whatever the hell people don't like about Johnson. I mean, you're probably getting, that's probably the best you're going to get to keep the majority. I mean, he's, at least on paper, he was fairly conservative. I mean, I know he did some dopey things last year, But it's taken a decade to purge the RNC, to purge the House. Now we're slowly purging the Senate of these, establishment figures, right? Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell didn't help much. Look, this is not the first time Trump has had the House, the Senate,
That's
and
right.
the
That's right.
presidency,
Yeah.
right? So they got their little tax cuts last time, and that was it. McCain showed up and did his midnight, because they were going to repeal Obamacare, and Beavis walked in there. Beavis walks in, and the hero that was captured, he goes in and he, did his thumbs down and he saved Obamacare.
Mhm.
So look, you can't just purge all at once. Unfortunately, we've had to win each battle in order to win the war. But Trump has never had this kind of mandate. He's never had this kind of power. Everyone was shocked in 2016 when he won. So this time around, it needs to be different. And look, that's why these cabinet positions have to be disruptors. So no more Tillersons, no more Mad Dog Mattis, no more
Yeah.
John Bolton no more Boltons with the mustache, no more H.R. McMaster. You got to put a bunch of disruptors in there to go in, pick the freaking coffee table up, and dump it on the floor.
Is there any rumor to the? Is there any truth to the rumor that Ron Paul is advising Trump behind this? I've heard that.
He is. Yeah, that's true.
Wow. Oh, I would love. I
Well,
mean,
and he's
he's.
and he's also. I'm gonna tell you who he's going to be advising. Vivek and Elon have reached out to him.
Oh, cool, cool.
So this is going to be, the Potomac Chainsaw Massacre. Because if you got Elon in there with a chainsaw and Ron shows up, the original Obi-Wan Kenobi of "get the hell out of my face," right?
Yeah.
You got Vivek. That's the Jedi Council of cutting spending. Get in there and get rid of it. So yeah, Doge. He's gonna be one of the Jedi's on Doge.
Well, I hope that someone tells them to look back at the recommendations of the Grace Commission in the 1980s, which nobody Reagan and they didn't do anything with it. And at that time, they did a really good thorough investigation, and they found that fully 33% of all government spending is waste, fraud, and abuse. So I mean, I'm sure it's grown since then. But I think I would start there and just say odds are they didn't get rid of any of that abuse and fraud and waste, and they've got a lot more of it. So I'd love to see them do it.
Sure.
Do you think Trump? Because in my opinion, what I think, AJ, what's the strangest thing about his election is that I wanted to see some entertainment value other than the women Melbourne kill with it. I mean, how many times can you see it? But I don't see the reaction I thought I would see. I thought there would be people in the streets, maybe cities burning. Do you think they're waiting to see if he does do the deportation program or if he does cut the Department of Education and then they'll come out?
Well, I mean, there's going to be a band of people probably that try to show up, but they took it on the chin to such a degree here that they're stunned. They're stunned, and they're going to be slowly dismantled. I mean, Comcast probably told Joe and Mika, "You better go down there and kiss the ring," because it's obvious. And look, I've done 2 books on this, right? The Woking Dead and the White Privilege out behind me. It's obvious that this was a woke Waterloo moment. And DEI and ESG and a lot of this garbage was rejected. And it was rejected by a more working class, multi-ethnic group of people. So it's going to take some time for the left to organize. The resistance. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm more worried about John Thune's resistance than I am, a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
pink pussycat hat wearing dummies, Madonna standing outside the White House threatening to blow up the White House. Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think? I mean, do you think Holman and I mean, because again, I think the biggest question for me is will because that they're gonna paint such a picture of that any kind of deportation scheme. They're gonna make that look so heartless and bad. I mean, the media will pull out all the stops. Hollywood will pull out all the stops. I think that's when you'll see more and more protesters. But to me, it should be why doesn't Trump just sign an executive order? banning all, not banning, but tying all government aid to citizenship status. I mean, I think you'd
Sure.
see some self deportations there, right?
Well, the self deportation has started. Okay, it has started. I mean, cars are being stolen and being driven to the southern border as we speak. And not just of illegal aliens, because they're not the only ones deporting themselves. Ellen DeGeneres just deported herself.
Yeah, I
Okay?
saw that.
Hollywood,
That was a good.
Hollywood,
Yeah,
Hollywood people are deporting themselves. So let me get this
yeah,
straight. Illegal aliens are deporting themselves. Hollywood's deporting itself. And liberals are, basically swearing off to having sex. So they're not going to procreate. So there's not going to be any more libs. So this is a huge win. This is a huge win. A bunch of giant women with blue hair are shaving their head and they're moving to Canada. I mean, right? That's a huge win. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better victory. I mean, the winning never stops.
yeah. Well, that would if all the Hollywood celebrities had said they would leave, finally leave, that would be some kind of victory. But I just hope he can make some inroads on immigration because this country has been transformed, so much in the last 40 years, and especially in the last five, really, with the open borders policy that we've had there. So you probably
Well,
have more confidence in it. Yeah, go ahead.
let me make one observation there. I'm a Catholic guy.
Me
Um,
too.
there were two blue walls that came down on election day. The first blue wall was the Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan blue wall, and that helped boost his electoral college victory. But there was a second blue wall that came down, and the second blue wall was all the counties from Brownsville, Texas, to El Paso that were all blue counties along the Texas-Mexican border. Um, these counties are not exactly filled with Scandinavians. Okay? So, for all this talk about replacement theory, the Democrats have been worried for a long time that African Americans are going to, wake up from the mental plantation and say, hey, what have you done for me lately? And slowly start to leave the Republican Party. And they did that in greater numbers in this election. Leave the Democrat Party, I should say, and leave for the Republican Party. So their idea was we're going to replace all these black people with brown people. So they went about systematically for 40 years now importing millions of people that never get divorced, that never have abortions, that are all Roman Catholic for the most part, and that just escaped a Marxist hellhole dump toilet in Central and South America. And it might have been their fatal mistake. Because when I look at a map of Texas, Texas is going to turn blue. Ted Cruz is going to lose. Right.
Yeah.
We heard it this time. We heard it last time with Beto O'Rourke. It didn't happen. Okay? I look at a map of California, and I've looked at 2020 to 2024. And the blue in California is vanishing. And let me tell you why it's vanishing. So no one Spiritu Sante, right? That's why it's vanishing. Trump won the Catholic vote, but he also won the Hispanic vote. Remember, family values don't stop at the Rio Grande? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? MAGA values don't stop at the Rio Grande, okay? And they might have imported their own demise because it appears if the Hispanics keep voting this way, the Democrat Party is cooked. They're going to be a party of coastal, snobby, elite, fart-sniffing, Tesla driving, pumpkin spice mafia people that have no constituency and only talk to each other.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. But I think they definitely didn't realize that just because people were not white, that they would buy into this great replacement theory, and they did, I think, underestimate the fact they're largely Catholic, and they were never going to buy. They don't believe in abortion, and they're never going to buy the transgender nonsense. And I
Nope.
think that's so they're not going to. Why would they
None of
support?
these. I mean, why do you think Dearborn, Michigan flipped? I mean, you're talking
Yeah,
about bringing racial harmony to very fine people on both sides. Trump got the Jews in Pennsylvania and the Muslims in Michigan to both vote for him. Okay,
yeah.
so and against Kamala, right? The first Indian and the first this and the first woman with
Hmm.
ovaries that she didn't use and the first, yeah, the first.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's bringing racial harmony. Trump brought it. Hispanics, blacks. I mean, look at this. Look at this coalition. Democrats, Ron Paul people, disaffected Bernie people. I mean, that's the governing coalition. That's why California looks the way it does right now. The red states got redder and the blue states got redder. Blue cities got redder. Okay? So, I mean, he almost won Virginia, and he was very close in New Hampshire and Maine and New Mexico, and dare I say, New Jersey. Cut it to
Yeah.
like 4.5%.
Absolutely. Somebody in the chat room wanted to know what you think of Pope Francis as a Catholic.
Well, look, in my book, you get this book. In here, I got a bunch of blurbs, okay? And some of my blurbs are from Joseph Stalin. I got a blurb from Hamas. I've got a blurb from Santa Claus, but right here I got a blurb from the Pope. Okay? Now this goofy Pope is a Pope that wants to bring Karl Marx into the church and baptize him right there in the church. So, and look, this is a shame. I hate to say this. It's we're getting close to Christmas, but the Pope gave me a blurb, and this is the blurb. It says, the baptism of Karl Marx was almost complete. Then A.J. Rice showed up with this unholy book, Excommunicado. So look, this I got excommunicated. Whoever's listening, unfortunately, Pope Francis hates me. He sucks. That's my point. And he excommunicated me for writing this book. So go get yourself a copy. Excommunicado.
I bet. So, Ed, we only have a couple minutes left. What did you want to touch on before you go? And I want to make sure to give you plenty of time to promote anything you want to promote.
Well, I want the audience to remember that not all civilizations and cultures are created equal. We are not a multicultural country. We're a multi-ethnic country. We have one culture here. And just because we're a melting pot doesn't mean we're getting rid of the Magna Carta or the scientific method or the rule of law or the Bill of Rights. We can culturally appropriate. We can go out on Cinco de Mayo and have a tequila shot. We can eat sushi and go to yoga. But we're not throwing away this culture. It's the greatest in Earth's history. It gave us everything from, Shakespeare to jazz. All right? We are a unique people. And just understand this. Anyone can come here if you come here legally, and you can participate in the middle class and the nuclear family and Western civilization. But we're not going away. And if anybody's going to be reset, the globalists and the Woking Dead are going to be reset. And it's not just this election. Understand this. The Woking Dead, politically correct crowd, they're going to burrow in right now like termites. But they're not going to go away. We need to be ready for them when they reemerge, right? It's like something woke and wicked this way comes. They will be back. So, look, have yourself a White Privilege album Christmas. Go out, get a copy of the White Privilege album, and The Woking Dead just came out in paperback. So you can get both of them for a good price. Have a good Thanksgiving, and you can find me either Publius PR or AJ Rice on all social media. I can't really hide. You can find me pretty easily. It's like Googling Thanos. If you're looking for Thanos, you'll find me, AJ Rice.
Absolutely, AJ Rice. I appreciate you coming on. You have quite the life there, and good luck to you and your insiders. And hope you guys can keep Trump straight, and we can drain that swamp and get something good done. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, brother. You're a patriot. You keep fighting out there.
I'll do my best. Thank you. Take care. Thanks, AJ.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason Barker, you're on. Hopefully Chris will be
He,
here.
yeah, he just got home
Oh,
about 10
okay,
minutes.
there he is. Cool. Okay, there's Chris Graves. Okay, guys. Well, I'll talk for a minute. The reason, audience, the reason I gotta run is because I'm doing this special broadcast with John Barber. It's 7 o'clock, but I know he'll want me in there early, and I got to eat something beforehand, and it goes from 7 to 9. So it'll be too late to eat afterwards. And it's going to be about the JFK assassination because today's the 61st anniversary. So we'll be talking about that. And John Barber's always interesting and fun. And we're also going to have Wayne Madston, who's a pretty big alternative news reporter. He's going to be on there as well. So myself and Wayne are going to be John's guests. So hope you check that out. If you look on my Facebook and my Twitter, I left a link to listen live. So you can go right after this show. You can go right on over there. And, yes, Karen, you can find it. As I said, it's on my social media on Facebook and Twitter both. So Chris, Jason, what are you guys going to talk about?
We're just going to kind of roll through some random headlines and have a little fun with it.
Yeah, we
Cool.
also have another gentleman that's going to join us too by the name of Wheezy. I think he might be backstage right now, and I'm not sure how to bring him in on my side. So
I don't see him yet. Can you? Yeah, I don't know if anybody else can bring him. I don't see him.
okay.
Well, you want to message him and make sure he's just like I can. I mean, I can stay a few more minutes and bring him in.
Yeah. Just let me make sure everything's all set.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, and again, guys, I mean, AJ Rice has been very nice to me, and yeah, look, obviously he's got a lot of powerful clients. He's the one that got me Judge Shanine. I said, well, it kind of be cool, I guess, to have somebody with a name like that on the show, and then she canceled right before the show, which apparently that's kind of common. I said Laura Ingraham did that to me 2 years ago. I think that's basically the way it works. There he is. I think that's somebody's
No,
that headline.
That's me, Don. If you don't mind, we're gonna just to kind of do this thing that we started called Headlines in Real Time, where we just
Sure,
pull up.
of course.
And this is the intro for it. It's a show we've kind of worked on, and we've done a couple of them already, but it's going to be on the regular. It's kind of a funny intro. I don't know if you want to roll that real quick,
Sure.
Because we can't roll it once you're gone. So.
Oh, okay. So I have to put it up there. Okay. Hold on
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, I'll put it in there. Okay. Never mind. Okay. Add to stage.
Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that. Yeah, I can't read it. There's no words on it. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
Time once again to get you caught up on your news headlines. For that, the Hamburglar.
Warning, the next time you pass gas, make sure no police are around.
I got scared. I dropped my hot pocket.
I'm at us live in Hernando, Mississippi, where there's been spottings of a cougar, and that's not it. That looks like a house cat.
Maybe we can canoodle before you get into it about,
We're not going to be canoodling.
Headlines in Real Time. Yeah, that's our little intro for our show that we come up with. It's just going to be random people coming on, giving their honest input, like unfiltered before they even research anything, just their honest opinion on new headlines.
Good to see. So what did Weezy say, Chris?
Yeah, I just called Billy Ray and did Wheezy too. I sent the link, so hopefully he's there, like right now.
Okay, yeah, because I can bring him on, but I can't. If I'm not here, I can't obviously. And
right.
Chris, I guess Billy Ray can't do it remotely. I guess. I'm not sure. Okay, look at it. Good to see everybody in the chat room that was there. And again, sorry, like I said, AJ Rice, a nice guy. He's been very nice. He says he's a big fan of mine. I think some of our reviews probably aren't compatible, but apparently he likes the show because he sent me copies of his book and wanted to be on. So I said that's great. But this guy has a lot of powerful contacts. So he's consorting with the likes of me. I'm amazed. But and certainly he's working with RFK Jr. That's pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. But I had to be. I don't know if how you guys were, but I'm very disappointed about Matt Gaetz. Kind of predictable, but and I don't like Pam Bondi, the replacement. I don't know if you saw that but both Lindsey Graham and Jeb Bush tweeted out what a great choice she was. So I don't think you need to know any more than that. So
Yeah, right.
and with that, there is Wheezy. Wheezy, how you doing, buddy? Okay, I brought Wheezy on, and yes, Chris Buck and I do love those Kennedys. So with that, I'll leave you guys, and okay, so I'm gonna leave the studio. You guys continue to do your show, and have fun. I appreciate you. Filling in for me. And anybody look for the link on my social media. You can jump on over after this and watch John Barber's show. Take care, everybody.
All right, take care, Don.
Take care, Don.
Thanks.
Wheezy, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me.
Nice, smooth voice. There you go.
Well, it's anyway, like Nature Boy. He got that broadcast voice.
That's right.
Pillow talk.
Pillow talk with the guys. Well, that sounds.
Well, that was Pillow Talk was the name of a late night like a pop station back in the 80s that used to play out of St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to listen to it when I go to bed. Back when you're a kid, you like to listen to the music when you go to sleep, so that you get indoctrinated with those ideas.
With the easy listening.
Easy listening. But anyway, I got this first story. If you guys want to jump into it, I'll kind of read the article here.
Yeah, sure.
Get your take on it. I thought this was hilarious in light of the photo of them eating McDonald's on the plane, right? What's your opinion of that? That's complete BS. Because have you ever had cold McDonald's fries?
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Absolute disgusting. And I'm pretty sure the airplane didn't make it through the drive-through. So they had to send like Secret Service probably like 10 miles away to the nearest McDonald's, and clear the whole place out, of course, and then order the food and then bring it. So I'm pretty sure they probably didn't eat that.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. Yeah, and a waste of resources, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Just for a photo op.
What do you think, Wheezy?
Yeah. Just more photo ops, like when he served up some McDonald's at a pre-planned place and the guests and clientele were already chosen beforehand.
Yeah.
Or when he drove the garbage truck and just sat shotgun, didn't pick up a bin.
Well, his whole thing is make America healthy again now, right? So why is he doing McDonald's photo ops?
That's the irony of it. That is the irony.
It was to blackmail RFK. You see RFK, that silly picture where he's the only one not smiling in the picture.
No, I didn't actually see that. That was that came out earlier today, or
no? That was about a week ago, I think.
Oh, okay, all right.
I seen one where they cut the picture in half, so you just seen Elon and Don and the Don there, and the Don has the fake smile, and Elon's sitting there, and it says, "This is what it looks like when you take your autistic kid out for McDonald's," and it's hilarious. But anyway, let me read this article.
Sure.
So this comes from Zero Hedge, and so what I got here is I got an RSS feed that just pulls up the latest articles from several sources. It's really the way to go if you're going to do a show like we do. If you want to get the latest stuff and not have to go to all the different websites, you just get an RSS feed and it's so that the headlines up for you. So it says McDonald's revamps meal as QSRs fight over cash-strapped customers. So they're basically, the value meal is no longer value because of Bidenomics. It says McDonald's. Let me turn my screen here. McDonald's revamps meal. Okay. About 6 months ago, McDonald's launched a meal deal targeting working class and middle class customers. So now middle class can't afford a value meal. That's what it's come down to.
Because they're like $10 now. They used to be like $4 something.
Yeah. Well, the last time I did McDonald's, it was me, my wife, and my grandson. That's it. And I don't really eat McDonald's. I'll get like maybe a couple of those McDoubles or whatever. They're really small. Like, where's the beef now?
Yeah. Right.
But it was like, I want to say it was almost $30 for two adults that don't eat much and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
But
definitely not a value and definitely not a meal, in my opinion.
It's definitely not a meal. I usually end up chucking it up because, when you stop eating fast food for, a year or so, and then you go eat fast food, it's going to make you sick. I'm
Yeah,
just telling you.
that's right. It's
How
like
about
with
you,
sugar
Weezy?
too.
Do you do the fast food thing at all?
No, my kids do, unfortunately, but I can't eat that garbage, man.
Yeah, I can't. It tastes so good. That's the thing. It tastes so good. I don't know if they put crack in it or what. Or
See, I don't
MSG.
even think it tastes good, man. I try to eat a McDonald's hamburger every now and then, and it just tastes like cardboard. Freaking
Yeah.
gross. But when I do go to like a McDonald's or so, what I do enjoy is the coffee. I don't know what it is, man, but
Yeah.
McDonald's coffee is on point.
Their sweet tea as well. It hurts my belly a little because it's got so much sugar in it, but it tastes so good.
Yeah.
But
Every
you
now and
guys,
then, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just gonna say every now and then, like if I only have like pocket change or whatever, and even then it has to be a lot of pocket change for one of those McChicken sandwiches. They usually make me sick, but it serves the purpose if I got nothing else and I'm on the run or whatever. But pretty disgusting otherwise.
A means to an end.
What made fast food start tasting bad for me, and this is across the board, whether it's Wendy's or whatever, is the artisan buns. Everyone went to these artisan buns, and they look like they paint oil on them to make them shiny. And they
Yes.
just don't taste right. I don't know what's up with it. Just give me the old was it poppy seed buns or whatever they are?
Yeah.
Sesame seed buns. Yeah.
And a lot of McDonald's is like they call it buttermilk now, so it has that shine to it, and I don't like it either. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were
Well,
you
when
gonna say,
you
Weezy? I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna see if you guys had already covered the Pam Bondi and on the latest endorsement.
No,
go for it.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to be replacing Mr. Gates for Attorney General. And I had been following Pam Bondi for quite a few years now. She first popped into my radar when it was discovered that she accepted bribes, basically from the Trump campaign for hushing up the whole Trump University scam. I don't know how many people remember the Trump University scam. That was a fraudulent scheme by, the future president at that time, where I think they were charging around $34,000 for real estate classes, teaching you stuff that if you're friends with a real estate agent, any old real estate agent could do. I know that because I was a real estate agent for many years. So all the stuff that you had to pay $34,000, it was a complete sham. And then allegedly, or you were supposed to, when you graduated from this fake university, take a picture with Donald Trump. And it turned out that you took a picture with a cutout of Donald Trump. And so, not surprisingly, a lot of people were pissed off and they felt scammed. And
you mean like literally a cardboard cutout, like of him at what, five and a half
one of those things, the plywood things that you cut the hole in and you put your face in there, like like a Trump Tower. Put your head in the hole there. And
$34,000 photo op, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, and he settled out of court for I think $25 million. And at that point in time, he was no billionaire. He's a billionaire now, but at that point in time, he greatly exaggerated, what his net worth was. So a $25 million hit was a pretty big hit. And that was one of the reasons why I was like, man, how the hell is a scam artist going to be president? And he became president.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had Bill Clinton, we've had all kinds of scumbags. So, I mean, I guess it's not too surprising.
I don't think anybody gets up there in Washington unless they're scumbags and have a lot of skeletons in their closet, because we all know that it's a globalist agenda. We know that. I mean, just look at how everything works in lockstep of all the Western nations, whether it's the COVID pandemic or the green energy stuff, all this stuff. Everyone does the same thing at the same time. So we know there's people out there that are controlling. So those hidden hands have to have something to control these people with. And we know when it comes to elections, it's really a C-lection, because nobody can just go out there and say, hey, I want to run for president, or I want to run for Senate or a congressman, because you don't make the ticket.
Right.
You know, you have to be supported by this group. And I think they should do away with super PACs. I think they should do away with all that. It should be each person for themselves. There should be limits on spending and make it a fair game, because all we're getting in there is snakes, that all the diddlers, right? The little child kitty porno people, the people that are involved in drugs and sex trafficking, all that. This is what we're seeing with everybody. Of course, that's what they're doing, because they have to have dirt on them to control them, if that makes sense.
But I feel that's how the system was designed, unfortunately. I mean, I don't see a realistic way to get rid of any of that. That's what keeps these monsters in power. Why would they cut the hand that feeds them? I don't know.
Right.
You know, it's their mechanism of control.
Yeah.
Going back to Gates. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, I agree. Yeah, I don't really see a way of changing it.
Well, I got another headline here. Again, I'm looking at these kind of in real time. This one's about an hour old, I think, probably almost 2 hours old now, because I've had this window open. But it says from Zero Hedge, Matt Gaetz says he's not returning to Congress next year. Former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz on Friday responded to speculation that he could return to the U.S. House after he withdrew his name from consideration as President-elect Donald Trump's choice for Attorney General. So why do you think that is? That is there something going on there that we don't know about, that he's like, oh, I can't go back?
I don't know. Maybe
those nations are legit.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just saying, maybe sometimes you need things to just go away, and the best thing to do is for you to go away so that they're focused on something else. You know.
Yeah. Well, the curious thing too is how, if Matt Gaetz had a D in front of his name, he was a Democrat, all the Republicans would be up in arms. How the hell do we have a pedophile at this level? Blah, 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 blah. But now that he's got a Republican, he's got an R in front of his name. Well, you know, maybe he's not guilty. Maybe we should give him a pass. Maybe we should, you know, it's the hypocrisy is what gets me, man. These scumbags exist on both sides of the aisle. And when I see just one side pointing fingers on the other side and ignoring the nonsense that's going on their side, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's always been a two-sided thing with this kind of thing. I mean, going back to like the Franklin scandal and like in the 80s, I mean, that was Republican bent, you know. So I think they just go back and forth with who's ever, you know, the allegations and whatnot. But it's always been a two-party situation. You know, I think that's how you know, the power structure, like you guys were kind of alluding to. That's kind of what it is. You know, that's how they go along to get along. You know, and even if you're not guilty of something, then they trump up something. You know, pardon the pun. They trump something up on you, you know, whether you're guilty or not sometimes, you know, just to get, you know, it means to an end.
Yeah. And I mean, let's take a look real quick. We can look at all the Epstein associations with all the snakes up there in Washington, and, you know, celebrities and stuff like that. When Ghislaine Maxwell was on trial, you had those stenographers or the courtroom artists releasing pictures, very little bit. Like they actually, I believe the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, which was super televised and everybody's wrapped up into that was a smoke screen, so nobody would pay attention, and they can make that go away because it involved people on both sides, the D's and the R's, as Weezy was talking about.
Well, it's like the whole, you never heard the Democrats bring up really the whole Epstein and Trump ties. And so a lot of the Trump supporters would say, well, that means he's innocent, because, you know, they would have brought it up because they hate him so much. No, what that means is if they bring up stuff on him, stuff from their side is also going to be coming up to light. That's what that means. And, you know, going back to, you brought up Epstein, Pam Bondi, who's going to be replacing Mr. Gaetz, he played an instrumental role in that sweetheart deal that Epstein got. You know, where
one in Florida.
Where he went to allegedly prison, and he was able to leave the prison during business hours and come back to sleep.
Right.
Pam Bondi played a role in that, and you don't hear anything about that. Pam Bondi is also an Israel first person. No surprise there, I suppose. But yeah, it's just shenanigans, man. People get caught up on this left-right nonsense. Well, this time it's going to be different. I don't know if I said it with you, Chris, but I mean, I feel like with the energy that I saw right wingers have with Trump getting reelected, just a couple weeks ago, the excitement is very similar to what left wingers got with Obama, with the hope and change. And I feel it's going to go down the same exact way where everyone's excited and happy, and then it's going to crash and burn, and they're going to see things for what they really are. And fortunately, I guess the thing that troubles me is that there's some people that are Trump supporters that are somewhat awake. They know the shenanigans. They realize it, but because they're so ideologically captured, they can't see that their guy is also part of the system. They can't see that Elon Musk is also part of the system. That's what blinds them, and they're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Real quick, going back to what you're saying, like how the Trump supporters are saying, look, the Democrats didn't hammer Trump, so he must be innocent of these things. It could also be because if you look at the election results, right, we didn't have this massive apparent cheating going on that we had apparently allegedly last time, just by the sheer number of total votes. And I really do need to break that down by state and by actual county to see where those excess votes came from. But the thing is, nobody really contested this election, and Trump even won the popular vote. What does that tell you? That tells you that maybe Trump is a Democrat. Maybe they're okay with him being in there, and whatever the plan is to lead us up into 2030, Trump is on board with it.
Right.
Well, he was a Democrat.
Yeah.
For most of his life. His kids didn't even switch party affiliation until their dad started
campaigning,
campaigning and getting the nomination.
Yeah.
So they are Democrats. And if we were to break down ideologically who's more conservative or liberal between Biden and Trump, this is probably a hot take, but I would say Biden is more conservative ideologically speaking than Trump. Trump is a New York businessman, and Biden's one of these old school conservative Democrats.
Right.
What's up, Mr. Billy Ray? He just woke up. His eyes are just squinting away.
My first ride in a subway right now. I've never been on a subway. I'm guessing
but his profile pic looks like he's all ripped shreds.
Billy's been working out.
He looks like Tony there.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, and since Billy's here, I'll read this next headline. This is from technocracy.news, talking about how we don't get to see what really goes on with these politicians, right? They want to see what's going on with you, though. So, again, from technocracy.news, New York City expands use of drones to respond to crimes. The genie is out of the bottle, granting wishes to the technocrats of the world. Like a person of interest episodes, drones can use high-resolution facial recognition cameras to harvest images and conversations of all people along the flight path, their drone flight path. The constant use of drones puts a blanket of fear on citizens who don't want to be caught in a surveillance dragnet. That comes from Patrick Wood, the editor. What do you guys think about this increasing sort of like, we can't know about them. It's hidden, but they want to know everything about you. They're putting up traffic cams everywhere, supposedly red light cams. They have audio things within cities that are supposed to pick up gunshots and locate where the gunshot came from, but they can also hear your conversation too. And drones, I think Obama set the precedent with this. I think it was Obama that started flying surveillance drones along the border, which you're not supposed to do that, right? The only place I knew of that had any kind of surveillance cameras that were misused, and it was back in the 90s, was LA. LA had the cams that would show like the 605 and the 5 and see what traffic looked like, so they could do traffic reports in real time. Right. And I was watching the news one afternoon and they switched to one, and it was actually looking in someone's backyard, like right into their window. So somebody was using it to check out, I don't know, some chick taking a shower or something. I don't know, but they got busted doing that, and that caused a huge controversy. So yeah, we got nothing but surveillance on us as they hide what they do and protect each other. They're looking for any little misstep you can take, a way to fine you, to jail you, to criminalize you. What's your thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's turning into like England, right? Like England is pretty much a surveillance state, like right out of 1984. How do we rein that in? I mean, is it beyond reining in now? That kind of problem here?
When I see that, it only solidifies my thought that pretty much all the world powers are in cahoots. You know, we get told that China is the enemy, and yet our government is trying to emulate what China is doing to their people by these surveillance tactics, the same totalitarian nonsense. And, you know, and COVID was the biggest dead giveaway of that, you know, the way the world essentially handled, you know, COVID with the lockdowns and the vaccinations. The few countries, you know, I knew I think there was 4 African presidents that didn't go along with it.
Yep.
They died of mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I sent Don a whole bunch of articles that ended up going into the book Masking the Truth that were based on that. It was South American leaders too, I believe, right?
Yeah, and so when I see this, you know, these surveillance tactics, the way COVID was handled globally, it just goes to show that there is a new world order already in place. And so all these little, oh yeah, Russia's the enemy, or oh yeah, China is the enemy. I think it's all fake, like WWE, man, because when you really break it down, it's really the same stuff. It's just a different flavor of it. You've got the Western flavor of totalitarianism, and you have the Asian flavor, the Russian flavor of it.
Yeah.
But it's all the same means to control the populace.
Yeah, I think I think you're onto something there. Yeah, it's not just it's not just an American thing; it's worldwide, like you said. You know, and
well, you could just simply look at the monetary system. The CBDC, there's a website called cbdctracker.org. I look at it frequently, and you can roll through time. It's got a timeline, so you can see when, you know, it first started, and it has the concept phase, the, you know, testing phase, et cetera, and you can see all these nations all right away in lockstep, all of them. It's global. It's absolutely global. You can look at, like you said, COVID, everything, the same exact protocols. And then after COVID, they did the catastrophic contagion tabletop exercise, which I thought was interesting because if I'm not mistaken, that is the only one that Bill Gates attended to personally. He's always had 1 or 2 of his lackeys at these germ games, but he specifically himself was at that one. That takeaway was that the World Health Organization did not have a legal means to like push their recommendations. All they could do is recommend. And they say, well, we have to be able to force this on people. And you're talking about definitions here. Like, what's a pandemic? 1 person sick, 2 people sick. You know, they get to make that call. Is obesity going to be a pandemic now? You know, like they did in New York when they were trying to limit the size of a Coke.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, we're basically, the idea is we're giving our sovereignty over to unelected people on a global scale. So then what happens after that? The pandemic treaty.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's an accord or something like that. They didn't label it treaty. And I've talked about this a lot. But I mean, these things, it is global because you have people from all over the world attending these games. And then all of a sudden nations start doing things afterwards, and they all do the same thing afterwards. So, and I think maybe that's why, you know, talk about Trump, the New York City Democrat, the lack of pushback from him winning and even winning the popular vote tells me that maybe we're going to see this disease X, as they call it. X is just a placeholder. It could be bird flu. It could be swine flu. It could be anything. But I think we're going to see another one in this term. Billy, what's up?
You're muted. Oh,
Yeah.
Billy's on the train.
Yeah,
Looking
Rocky
like-
USA gave a wave in chat, and he also says, I must say the New York City subway is a completely different animal. I would love to check it out sometime.
What's up, Rock? How you doing? It's so dangerous. I am so scared for my life right now, riding on this train. It is incredible the way things have. I mean, I'm ducking right now as we speak because of the bullets that are flying around. You know how it is. So just a heads up. I just wanted to check in on the numbers. That's why I tuned in backstage real quick. But this is it. Just wanted to say hello real quick. And check on the numbers backstage. Nice numbers, everybody. What's up, everyone? I don't know if you guys can see them, but it's nice. We've got a lot of people watching you guys right now. So just hope everybody's doing well. And before I leave, on the election front, those numbers continue to shrink. Donald Trump is under 49% right now. Oh, under 50%.
Really?
He's at 49%. So the mandate numbers are a bunch of bullshit. It's just not the case anymore. So we need to stop talking about it in that manner, right? And point out the hypocrisy of it. It's 48-49. 1% goes to someone else. So Harris has 48, Trump had 49. But let me go before something happens to me in crazy ass New York, you know?
All right. All right, take care, Billy.
Easy, guys.
All right,
bro.
That's
Billy Ray
interesting.
Valentine.
I haven't looked at those numbers for about a week, so it'd be interesting to look. What would happen? What would happen if they find out that, the popular vote per whatever changes and then the vote sways the other way? Would they re-announce a different winner? I mean, I know we don't go by popular vote; we go by electoral college. But I wonder what would happen.
I think we got Trump, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think everything he did in his first term throughout COVID was exactly what the globalists wanted. So I think they want that again. That's why I say I think we're going to see another pandemic, whether it comes in the form of a virus or flu or something like that, or it comes in the form of a green energy crisis. There's going to be something that's going to require an emergency thing to happen, and it's going to be mandated for. He'll probably use the same tactics where, let's tax the heck out of everybody, print some money or whatever, and we're going to reward you if you do, let's give you the carrot. But the stick will come. The stick will come eventually.
Yeah. So what do we got for the next headline, Jason?
This one's interesting. I just grabbed this up. This is from the Daily Skeptic. And I'm sure you all heard about this. Arrest warrant has been issued for Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister by the International Criminal Court, and a move condemned as an assault on universal right of self-defense. Wow. What do you think they would actually arrest him, and what would they do?
No, I don't.
You think it's just political posturing to kind of
unless the powers that be that control him, like that control everyone else, they're dissatisfied with him now, and that's their way of getting him out of there. I'm not sure. Other than that, I think he's staying right where he is. Personally,
that's what I think. I think it's just a way, because it's very, very clear that right now, like if someone comes into my house right now, if you see me jump up and the mic goes flying and I go running in there with my gun because somebody broke in and they're attacking my grandson and my wife, and I go in there with my rifle and he runs out the front door, I'm not allowed to chase him out.
Yeah.
Right. I call the police and they come do their little report, because the police, they're minutes away when seconds count. Right. But you're not allowed to shoot someone once they're gone. Right. But that's exactly what Israel is doing. The nation state. I want to be clear. I'm not going to I don't want to hear about Jews and Jew this and Jew that and Zionists. I'm just saying the nation state of Israel is committing genocide on civilians, women and children. And it's not on their own territory.
Right.
It's like me shooting a guy who ran out my front door, and the threat is gone, and now I can report the threat. But if I chase him down, that becomes murder.
Right.
So I think enough people are catching on to this that they're like, hey, this is wrong. This is wrong. So this is the international community saying, well, we're not going to stop him. We're going to continue to fund him, but we'll just throw out this little arrest warrant, which means nothing if he doesn't go anywhere.
Right. Right.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Weezy?
Sorry.
Oh, you're good, brother.
Was it? Oh, my bad. I was looking up some other articles, so I am unprepared.
Oh, it's no, you're good.
Oh,
I think if he did go anywhere, they might pull him in and question him, and then give him a summons that, hey, come to court later, and send him on his way. I think that's what Netanyahu and this arrest warrant stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that if they even attempt to arrest them, there's going to be some problems. They're threatening for people, trying to enforce that. I think it's all for show. He's going to be untouched, just like all these other scumbags. Unfortunately, not that I want it to happen. I just, I have zero faith in government, especially big government, global government, doing the right thing.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. Like, good luck in trying to enforce it. He's not going anywhere. And United States, I don't think would let anyone take him away either. And I think he probably knows.
That's what I'm saying. The threats have come from American politicians.
Yeah.
Like, don't even go there. Don't even enforce it. Blah blah blah.
But the fact interesting. It'd be interesting to look at which I know there was a list of nations that he has a warrant out, to look at those nations. And again, this is something I should have took the time to do, but I mean, there's so much stuff I want to look into. You guys know how it is, only so many hours in a day, and you got responsibilities. But to take a look at those nations that say, hey, if you come here, we're going to arrest you for war crimes. And then to look to see if they're sending money to Israel at the same time.
Right.
I guarantee you there's at least one. It's all posturing to kind of play both sides of the fence. And you know what happens when you try to ride both sides of a barbed wire fence? Just saying.
Still going to
feel good.
Cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he's not going anywhere.
So what do you got over there, Wheezy, for other headlines, brother?
I was browsing, but
okay,
didn't find anything interesting.
I got one if you want to hit it real quick.
Include it.
Okay. All right. So I'll just read this is what we do. Headlines in real time. We just read the first part of it and go. So Ford cuts 800 British jobs after electric car sales stall. Ford has cut 800 jobs in Britain and 4,000 roles across Europe over the next 3 years as part of a plan to cut production of electric cars as sales stall and competition from China steps up. That's pretty big. That's actually a pretty big story because it's going on here. The F-150 Lightning is stalling. They were selling those. I think they were losing $20,000 per vehicle, even with the subsidies. Of course, they'll make that up in volume, right?
Right.
Nobody wants them. We have our friend Aaron Moth, who used to co-host the show quite frequently, but he works on Saturdays now, the Knights of the Storm show. But he works Saturdays now, and he's really busy. He's like some bigwig there. And he was telling me not too long ago how they're shutting down a lot of the production, or at least cutting back here in the U.S. as well. So number one, that's bad for jobs, but it's also bad for the green agenda because it shows that people don't want them, and they're not affordable. They're not reliable. There's nowhere to charge these dang things. Do you think this could be turning us doing a 180 on the whole green thing, or do you think they're just going to keep pushing forward with it and we just won't have cars to drive?
That's a good question.
Well, when you think about 15-minute cities, that fits into that pretty good as well. Rounding everyone up into these smaller communities so that you have greater control over them.
And then
that's what they market.
That goes back to the drone surveillance and all the cameras and stuff,
Yeah.
15-minute city sounds great. And I know a lot of people that like that kind of, especially the young people, 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And some people might not think 30 is young, but when you're almost 50, I'd love to be 30 again. I was a beast mode, but that sounds great. A lot of young people like it because, the market is right down the street. And me and Billy have talked about this when he was on the Foxhole. There's a lot of benefits to living somewhere where everything is right there down the street. You save a lot of money on vehicle, car payments, insurance, repair costs, fuel. But what happens when it's raining? Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing I think about is what happens when it rains. I got a Harley. I bought it in Okinawa in 2007, and also had a Mini Cooper, a classic Mini Cooper. The thing was awesome. It was a gorgeous little car.
Wow.
The Mini Cooper broke down, and all I had was my bike for about a year, and I loved it. I'd ride my bike every day. I had an excuse to ride into work.
Yeah.
But typhoon season came and it sucked. It literally sucked. So, not having a vehicle and moving to a 15-minute city model is there's a lot of drawbacks that people aren't thinking about. Better buy some umbrellas or something. I don't
then
know.
you gotta Uber everywhere all of a
Yeah.
sudden. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I see benefits. I see why people might want to live in that kind of thing. I don't like the surveillance state portion of it. But yeah, not having transportation kind of puts it there, because I know that if you take a look at the not the World Economic Forum, maybe it is the World I got it somewhere saved in a tab, but they have their milestones they want to hit by certain dates.
Yeah.
And the 2030 is like I think it's 60% of all new cars will be electric. But if they're not making the electric cars, that means they got to reduce to hit that milestone. They have to reduce gas car production to be able to offset those numbers, because they play those numbers games, right? So it's like, okay, we can't sell or produce the EVs. We got a whole bunch of them. I think Eric Peters did a article on it, where we have like a whole bunch of them that got shipped into the country, just sitting there on a parking lot because nobody wants them. But
that's the same thing. I've seen video footages of China. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like football fields of these cars just parked there, sitting there, and they really can't get rid of them because of the battery.
Yeah.
The lithium. It takes special precautions, to dispose of that stuff. But then what people forget too, a lot of the times, especially the people that push these green and clean energies, the slave labor that goes into getting this lithium, man, it's child slave labor, even for your phones, all that stuff, it's all these conveniences that I guess capitalism brings us. We get to enjoy it, but at the cost of poor folks. Yeah, it's a messed up place because well, what are you saying, Weezy? You want communism? No, I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying all the systems are messed up. They all have flaws in them. Communism, only the very few are going to have all the wealth, and they want everyone else to have the same parity. But then in capitalism, we're living large here in the United States. But again, where is this lithium coming from? Who is mining it? And these are things that are often overlooked, or people don't want to talk about it because it's a harsh reality to face.
Let me throw this by you, just this concept. If we're going to build, and I've already done so many reports on green energy, from solar panels to windmills to the lithium ion batteries, and the amount of energy and slave labor, as you say, especially for the cobalt mines. That's the one where they
that's really what I was thinking.
Yeah. But if you're putting all this energy into something that ultimately over the lifetime of that thing you built will not produce or save the energy that was put into creating it, and we've proven this. It's a fact. It's all a beard or whatever you want. I don't know what that means, but the thing is, now let's look at this aspect of it. We're building all these EVs to meet a certain number that some unelected bureaucrat at the World Economic Forum set, or Jim Carrey, or whoever the heck, not Jim Carrey, John Kerry, sorry. They just set this arbitrary number that says 60% of all vehicles must be EVs. So now we're putting all this energy into these EVs that nobody buys. Wouldn't it be greener just not to build them?
Yeah, that's right.
Like you're literally wasting your carbon stuff to build these things that nobody will buy, and they'll sit there, and after so many years the battery is no good. And then how I know they're also not serious about this? I'm invested in a company called Li-Cycle, L-I Cycle. I forget, L-I-C-Y, I think is the ticker thing on it. So they're a Canadian company that has a patent on a way to, well, they have two patents, one on this modular factory system that's like Lego blocks. So they can build up a big empty building and then just haul these things in on trucks and snap them together, and they have a factory. And what the factory does is they actually can recycle, I want to say it's like 98% of the rare earths out of these batteries. And they're tanking. They're absolutely tanking. So they're not, I mean, they can get this material back and make new batteries, but they're not interested in that. They're interested in mining more, which is ultimately way, way more diesel fuel and child labor and destruction of the earth goes into that. This is something that should, if anything, subsidize this. But their stocks suck. They've just gone down, down, down. I bought into them about 3 or 4 years ago because I saw they were patent holders. And even if they didn't do the work, they would lease that out to somebody else, that patent. And because as these batteries start reaching end of life, what are you going to do with them? You can't just throw them in a landfill. I mean, if that lithium gets into the groundwater, we're all going to be freaking high as a kite or whatever lithium does to you. I know my stepson was on lithium. It was like an SSRI type drug, and it really screwed him up. So he's finally, thank God he's off all those drugs now. It took us a long time to get him off of them, but he had behavioral issues or whatever. He's good now, but it had a black box warning on it. So what happens when this stuff gets into the groundwater and they're not interested in recycling it and reusing it to build new batteries? I don't understand this. So it tells me that they're not serious about the green agenda. It's all a money grift. It's a way to shift money from your pocket, my pocket, print money. So they're getting it through inflation as well, and shift it to their people that have this contract to build this thing or to mine this thing. Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. The lithium, the cobalt mines and everything, right? Like that's a pretty bad situation there. A lot of, like you mentioned, the slave labor. And I think Joe Rogan even had somebody on his show within the last year or two, I think, right, Weezy? Where the guy was going into like how dangerous it is and how many people, kids are participating in the labor and everything. And how I think Elon Musk even brought that up on Rogan too at one point, which is weird because he's like the Tesla guy. So, yeah. I'm not sure.
When I lived in Southern Illinois growing up as a kid, in my teenage years, I was in St. Louis, but until then I was in Southern Illinois, and we had a lot of coal mines. And I remember that they started the war on coal back then, and it devastated the whole Southern, if you're not a farmer, you're pretty much on welfare. I think we had a steel mill not far from there. They got shut down for whatever reason, but the coal got hit really, really hard. And one of the things that they did to demonize coal, not even about whether it's dirty for the air or not, and it was high sulfur coal, I'll give it that. It was not the cleanest coal out there, but there was ways to scrub it, which clean it, do whatever they do, but it made it more expensive for people who wanted to purchase it. But one of the big complaints was strip mining. So they went from mining, in caves that you dig out or whatever, like standard traditional mines, to strip mining. And they said, well, it's so horrible for the land and it's so blah, blah, blah. Well, they would, when they'd done strip mining, they would either go fill the thing back in, or what they did in one case, I believe Pyramid State Park down there south of Pinckneyville, Illinois, there's an old strip mine. And what they did was they just turned it into a recreation area, and they made a lake out of it. Stock it full of fish, campgrounds out there. It's a really nice place to go. So, but that is not even a fraction of how bad cobalt and lithium mines are. But yet that's green, right? So we had to shut down the coal because of the strip mining procedure, and it's so horrible for the land. But you know what? Let's go over to another place in the world and do the same thing and call it green. So people need to look at that.
Right. What do you think, Weezy?
I concur. Yeah, though I had a Dr. Judy Curry on my show, I want to say about a year and a half ago. She was pretty well known globally as a climate scientist, and she was praised, got all these awards. And then the further she dug into her research, she's like, man, this thing, she's not saying that climate change isn't real. What she's saying is that it's being greatly exaggerated. And people are doing false alarms, and it's a money grab. It was a fascinating conversation because she's not, maybe, she's slowly going into the conspiracy side, but she was just a normie scientist that just, her research led her to that conclusion that it was all nonsense. And after she started talking against it, she got canceled. It's essentially from the scientific community. If you look up her Wikipedia for Judy Curry, it says she's a conspiracy theorist and all this nonsense, just, yeah, she's been cast out just for speaking the truth on the matter. But one thing that I brought up with her is like, if they really cared, this whole going green is because we care about the environment, and we want to save the world and all this and save the trees, which I'm on board with. I've always been on board with. But the problem is when you see different rules for thee and different rules for me type of stuff going on when it comes to this, then you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? If you or I'm out here in Florida. If I decided for, maybe I went on a cocaine bender and decided to kill some dolphins,
right?
They would throw my ass in prison and I would be locked up, and rightfully so. But when Big Sugar dumps its fertilizer pollutants into our waters and causes red tide in the process, which when red tide happens, all this extra algae grows up or grows in the water, and it suffocates all the oxygen out of the water and kills hundreds of tons of wildlife, including dolphins and manatees. And no one gets punished. Big Sugar doesn't get punished. When a big oil spill happens and all this wildlife gets messed with, nothing happens to them. Maybe a little slap on the wrist to the tune of a couple $1 million. But when these businesses are worth billions of dollars, it ain't shit. And so that's why that's one of the biggest red flags when it comes to this whole green energy stuff. Because like I said, it took me a while to get here with this stance that I have now, because I do want to protect the environment. I don't believe in littering and any of this stuff. But when you see the double standard with the government, I'm like, all right, man, what else is going on here? And it at the end of the day, it all comes down to money, unfortunately.
I agree 100%. Yep.
It's always money. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's what the green is. The green agenda is the Benjamins. It's all about
green
the
dollars.
It's all about the Benjis.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the story about the lithium-ion battery recycling company. I'm thinking 98% of this stuff that's so hard to get, they could recycle that and sell it and make new batteries. No, nobody's interested. Nobody's interested in investing in it. Their stocks are tanking. I don't know. No, I might need to look deeper. Maybe they got caught up in a scandal or maybe overpromised. I don't really know. I just know that I can have a company like Cylindra complete failure. And we went through this on one of the shows, like probably about 30, 40 companies that had millions, if not billions, dumped into them from government subsidies that all failed, went bankrupt. Yeah. Right. So it can't just be that, okay, maybe it's not feasible. They always throw money at these things just because it might be feasible. But then their CEOs get nice and rich. The politicians that made it happen get their kickbacks through campaign donations. And then the company goes out of business. All these people that moved there, bought a new house for that factory or whatever it was. Now they can't afford their home mortgage, so it ruins lives. But the CEOs walk away with a buttload of money, and you never hear from them again. And the taxpayer is left on the hook for that,
Yeah.
So that's the green agenda.
The money agenda.
But we've only got a few more minutes. I don't know if you want to get this last one. I found this kind of interesting. You want to hit one more real quick?
Yeah.
And this kind of, let's get in the mindset here real quick. So let's think about Henry Ford and the Model T and the assembly line. Okay. He did the assembly line. He kind of invented it, where the part just rolls by and this person adds this widget and that person adds that widget. And by the time it's at the end of the line, someone drives it off. It all happens right there. And it made the cost of production so cheap that any of his employees, I forget what the amount of months was, but on the average salary of the people working the line there is like 4 or 5 months worth of salary could purchase the car they're building.
Right.
Which we can't do that now, right?
No.
So I got this one here. And think about that. They brought the cost of production down and put people to work, and then people were able to buy the product. Here in, where is this? This is South Korea. Almost 10% of South Korean workforce is now a robot. Where's this from? International Business Times. Okay. It says the country has 1,012 robots per 10,000 employees, toppling the global list according to a new survey. And we won't go too far into it. The concept of that, because people think what's going to happen is robots are going to do all the stuff for us and produce everything, and life will be great and everybody will have plenty. Who's going to buy it? Because if people aren't working, if we're replacing people with robots, there's no salary. That brings us into the universal basic income in the 15-minute cities. So that's not something, because I'm not going to be able to say I want to own a Ferrari and I want to work really hard and get a Ferrari. They're going to be like, you're on UBI. There are no jobs for you to save your money. Maybe you can't save your money because it's CBDC and it comes with an expiration date. So you're stuck with a Yugo, and that's all you can get is a Yugo if you can get a car at all. Right. That's where I see this. I understand robots will bring the cost of goods down, right? But if there's nobody to buy the goods, it doesn't do any good.
Right.
What's you guys' thought about automation of everything? I mean, I know it's a really broad topic we can talk on for hours, but yeah.
Yeah, the robots are taking all the jobs. I don't know. It could, like you said, it brings the cost down, but if you don't have the money in the bank to buy it, then what's the point? Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Just more further control measures by doing that. You know what I mean? That's all it is, and it's coupled with the more added surveillance. It's more control, more freedoms that we are losing. It's a slow but steady tightening and erosion of our freedoms at the end of the day. And I think what we need to be doing, to bring some hope, a little bit of hope anyways, because it is dark. What's coming up ahead is to form our own communities, get with like-minded folks, learn how to skin animals, learn how to plant your own food. It sounds crazy, but I mean, things could get tougher. And you know what? If you never have to use those skills, then good. That's great. But it wouldn't hurt to be prepared, man. It's always I'd rather be prepared than underprepared.
Yeah. I gotta say something on that, Weezy. Planting your own food. So I know you probably don't track. It's pretty much me and Tiger have been talking about it. He's been helping me out. But I built an indoor garden, and it's all heirloom seeds. So it's basically little tables I set up, and I bought these big tubs from Lowe's, and I poked holes in them for drainage, and I got a tray under there to catch the water. And I bought some heirloom seeds. It's not as easy as people think. So don't grab some stuff and stick it in a closet and wait for the end to come and think you're going to do it overnight. You got to start doing it now, because there's a learning curve. I gardened as a kid, but my grandma had the knowledge. My mom had the knowledge. I didn't. I was just a little helper hands, helping hands and stuff. Carry a bucket of water, carry this shovel over here. So as I'm doing it now, I keep running into all these issues. So it's not necessarily having the stuff that's as important as having the skill, but you won't get the skill overnight. So I would suggest everybody do whatever it is you think you want to do for your community, whether it's growing food, grow weed. People want to trade for that, right? My neighbor grows weed. I grow food. I just met another guy down the street yesterday. He came over to check out my shop that was built where my garden is. He's gardening down there. He does other things, starting to learn who I can trust, what they do, who I can trade with. And then I threw my seeds in the ground, and I was having issues with bugs, lighting issues, all this other stuff. We got to learn the stuff now, because when the stuff happens, it's going to happen gradually, then suddenly, and we're going to be stuck. And you're going to be reliant on the government or a neighbor that maybe don't want to help you, so make those relationships now. That's my advice. Sorry, just my advice.
100%.
Well, it's great. Well, guys, thanks for joining me and helping me out. And,
right on, Chris.
just tell everybody, both of you fine gentlemen, tell everyone where they can find you and when your next shows are and everything.
I guess I'll go first. All right. So vnightsofthestorm.com, all one word. You can see Chris, myself, Angry Tiger. There's a list of a whole bunch of podcasters that we kind of like our circle of friends. And it has a schedule there. It tells what times they're on. Tomorrow I'll be doing my show. It's not going to be, well, it's going to be live partially, but partially a replay, which was a Foxhole episode I did. Really important information. It didn't get a lot of views on the Foxhole 8 months ago. So I'm rerunning it today. And it's going to be a lead up into the next show I do with Karen Carpenter, where we're going to be talking medical stuff. So anyway, yeah, tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern on Rumble, Twitter, and Facebook if they don't kick me off. And there you go.
And Wheezy.
You can find me by searching the What is Truth podcast by Wheezy on your favorite podcast player. I've just do shows with all kinds of fun guests. I've had you on, Chris. I need to get you on, Jason. But I've had super famous people, and I've had people that aren't famous but super interesting. And we just shoot the breeze. Tomorrow I have Corey Hughes, who's a good friend of mine, coming on talking about the two Oswalds. That's going to be a wild show. And then after that, I have the Apollo Detectives. So for all you moon landing fanatics, that's going to be an awesome show. So if you got any moon landing questions, jump in the live chat. If you catch the live show on Rockfin, I do have a Rumble and Odyssey channel. That's where I do the live shows on. Put your questions in the live chat and we'll ask the Apollo Detectives. Those guys are engineers. They're freaking super intelligent dudes, man. So whatever questions you want to throw at them, man, they'll be ready. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
Always good to run into you, Mr. Jason. Yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. And I'm at Seagraves Mass Guy. I got a link tree up there. And this is I Protest. And thanks for watching.
Cheese.
We're still alive.
We're still alive. That's what I just
interesting, Weezy. while we're closing this out, my a captain I know in the Army, he's an engineer with some wild degree in math, and we pulled apart the moon landing and determined it's absolutely impossible. It was impossible to happen based on fuel.
There's so many factors. Like I said, on my show, I've done tons of moon landing. I've had 2 astrophysicists on my show debunking the moon landings. Wow. And then these guys have a YouTube channel, pretty big YouTube channel. It's called the Apollo Detectives. And like I said, they're engineers.
I'm going to look them up right now.
Doctors.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, dude. Marcus Allen I had him on the show last week, but he's part of the Apollo Detectives. And that dude is a legend. 82 years old, sharp as a tack.
So what's their consensus, that it wasn't possible, or did they say
it never happened and it's not possible? There's a reason why we haven't been back in 55 years, because if we can't do it with today's technology, what the hell makes you think we did it with
what it came down to
tech?
For me and my buddy, and this is a guy I served with, he was a lieutenant. It was my XO in Colorado, and then I got restationed in Georgia, and then he became he wasn't over me there. He was at a different unit, but we kept in contact, and we sat down, was drinking some beers one night and started talking about the moon landing. I said it never happened. And so we literally went through, because he was trying to convince me that it did.
Yeah.
And we went through NASA's own data. We went through how much fuel did it hold, how much cubic feet, cubic meters was inside the capsule, how much, all this stuff. And he determined that it was possible to go there, land, take off, rejoin the ship, and come back with a 10%, 15% fuel. But
possible.
I know it's not possible, because then I said, well, what about the rover, the golf clubs, the flag, all that other stuff? And he's like, oh, there's not enough physical room for it, and then that adds too much weight And yeah, that wouldn't happen. So he looked it up and says, oh, they flew an unmanned one up there and dropped that stuff off ahead of time. I'm like, dude, don't you think that would make international news that we flew an unmanned flight? And then there's another thing where, I asked about the computers. I said, I don't think the computers back then were, capable of calculating all that stuff. And then there was, so I guess the story behind that is they had to be women, right? A whole room full of women that were mathematicians, and they were doing calculations on the fly and sending them up. And I'm like, well, what about the time delay? And then, okay, that breaks your argument on the unmanned flight then. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't have anyone to push the buttons and do the course corrections. So yeah, that whole
Billy,
thing. Go ahead.
If you're listening, end the stream. But
I thought it was texting Billy.
Yeah, we're still on. Yeah, this will be fun though. The other thing is there's a what's it called? It's a YouTube channel with like 13 million subs on like NASA stuff, and they put out a video. Oh, it's called Get Smarter Every Day, I believe. They put out a video about a year ago or so where they said it's part of the reasons why they keep stalling it. They're like, well, originally we thought we only needed 3 rockets to get to the moon, but after further examination, we thought maybe it was 5, and then we kept looking at it. We thought it was 8 to 13, but now, oh my gosh, we're probably gonna need about 20 rockets. They need 20 rockets to launch one damn rocket to the moon, to get to the freaking moon. Think about the payload, the fuel load, all that stuff. They can't do it today at all.
Think about the carbon output. The carbon output.
And that's not even mentioning the radiation that you have to battle. We haven't even gone into that part of it. So yeah, it's complete nonsense, man. And with that, if you want more, tune in.
Yeah, I got
a Truth podcast tomorrow. Yeah, bring in your questions, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hop out of here, gentlemen. My grandson wants me to spend some time with him.
Yeah, me too.
My wife's making dinner.
All right.
Yeah, that might be the only way to end the stream is we all leave the studio.
Oh, we all leave. Yeah, that could be it too. All right, y'all. Take care.
All right. Take care, Weezy. Take care, Chris.
Later. Thanks for coming on.